call came while I was frosting his favorite German chocolate cake, the one I'd made every year for 41 years of birthdays. My phone lit up with an unknown number, and I almost didn't answer, but something, maybe the way the afternoon light caught the silver band on my finger, made me wipe the chocolate from my hands and pick up. "Is this Eleanor?" The voice was young, breathy, scared. "Eleanor Whitmore?" "Yes, this is she." I set down the spatula, watching chocolate drip onto my grandmother's recipe card. I'm calling from St. Joseph's Hospital about Richard, your husband. Richard. My heart did that thing it does now at our age. That skip that makes you wonder if this is the moment everything changes. Is he hurt? What happened? There was a pause. Not the pause of someone gathering bad news, but the pause of someone gathering courage. He's had a heart attack. He's stable now, but... Her voice cracked. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. He asked me to call you." I was already reaching for my purse, my keys, my mind racing through the practice drill of emergency. Wallet, insurance cards, medical history. I kept typed in my phone. "I'll be right there." "What room?" "Wait." The word came out strangled. "Mrs. Whitmore, I need to tell you something first. I'm not a nurse. I'm Hannah. I've been seeing Richard." The words didn't make sense at first. Like when someone speaks to you in a dream and you know the language but can't grasp the meaning. I stood in my kitchen, the October sun streaming through the windows I'd cleaned that morning, the cake half frosted on the counter, and tried to understand what this young voice was telling me. Seeing him for 2 years. She was crying now. "I'm 32. We met at his conference in Denver. I work for the hotel. Worked. I moved here 6 months ago to be closer to him. 2 years. I did the math automatically, the way you do when your world tilts off its axis and you need something solid to hold on to. 2 years ago was when Richard started his healthy phase. Joining a gym, buying new clothes, working late on projects that suddenly required overnight trips. "Why are you calling me?" My voice sounded strange, calm and distant, like it belonged to someone else. "Because he's asking for you. He keeps saying your name. The doctors, they said he needs surgery, and someone needs to sign. I can't. I'm nothing to him legally." Nothing to him legally, but something enough to be at his bedside. Something enough to have my husband's phone, to know my number, to make this call that must have cost her everything. "Room 314, she whispered. "Cardiac unit." I hung up without saying goodbye. There would be time for manners later. Or maybe there wouldn't. Maybe this was the moment when 41 years of good mornings and good nights, of shared toothpaste and separate reading chairs, of 2 daughters and 3 grandchildren and 1 miscarriage we never spoke about. Maybe this was when all of that ended. The drive to the hospital was 23 minutes. I know because I counted each one, focusing on the numbers instead of the images flooding my mind. Richard at our wedding, spinning me on the dance floor. Richard in the delivery room, crying when Sarah was born. Richard last Tuesday, kissing my cheek before leaving for his conference in Sacramento. The hospital parking garage was full. I circled 3 times before finding a spot, and in those circles, I made a decision. I would be dignified. I would be calm. I would be the woman my mother raised me to be. The woman Richard married, even if he'd forgotten who that was. The cardiac unit smelled like all hospitals smell. Disinfectant fighting a losing battle against fear and grief. Room 314 was at the end of the hall, and through the small window in the door, I could see her. Hannah was exactly what I'd expected, and nothing like I'd imagined. Pretty in that effortless way young women are, with long auburn hair and skin that hadn't yet learned to hold its disappointments. She sat beside Richard's bed, holding his hand, and for a moment I just watched them, studied the familiar geography of my husband's face, now gray and drawn, tubes and wires making him look fragile in a way I'd never seen. Then I opened the door. Hannah's head snapped up, and we looked at each other across the bed where my husband lay dying. Her eyes were green, swollen from crying, and in them I saw not defiance or guilt, but something worse. Love. Real love. The kind that makes you call the wife. Mrs. Whitmore. She stood quickly, dropping Richard's hand like it burned. Eleanor, I corrected, because if we were going to do this, we might as well do it as humans. How is he? The doctor said. They said if he makes it through surgery, he has a good chance, but someone needs to sign. I'll handle it. Richard's eyes fluttered open then, and for a moment I saw confusion, then recognition, then something that might have been shame if I still knew how to read his expressions. Ellie. His voice was weak, gravelly. My Ellie. I'm here. I moved to the bed, taking the spot Hannah had vacated. His hand felt the same. Familiar creases. The scar from when he'd tried to fix the garage door himself. The wedding ring I'd placed there on a June day when we were barely more than children ourselves. The cake. He whispered, "Were you making the cake?" Of course he remembered. Of course, in what might be his last moments, he thought about German chocolate cake. I almost laughed, almost cried. Did neither. It's on the counter, half frosted. I'm sorry. The words came out tangled with the oxygen mask. Ellie, I'm so... Shh. I squeezed his hand. Not now. But my eyes found Hannah standing by the window, arms wrapped around herself like she was holding her pieces together. And I realized this wasn't just my tragedy. This young woman had driven to the hospital with the man she loved, watched him collapse, held his hand while his heart failed, and then had to call his wife. How did it happen? I asked her. We were at lunch at that Italian place on 3rd Street. He said his chest hurt, and then he just fell. The Italian place on 3rd Street, where Richard had proposed to me 42 years ago, where we'd celebrated our daughter's graduations, where we'd gone last month for our anniversary, and he'd seemed distracted checking his phone, probably texting her. The doctor arrived then, a young man who looked barely older than our daughter Sarah. He explained the blockage, the surgery, the risks. 80% chance of success if we moved quickly. 20% chance that Richard would never wake up. Numbers again. I signed where he pointed, my signature steady despite everything. Are you family? The doctor asked Hannah. No, she said quietly. I'm just... She's a friend. I finished because what else could I say? She can stay. The doctor left to prep for surgery, and the three of us existed in that strange bubble that hospitals create, where time moves differently and normal rules don't apply. Hannah returned to the window. I stayed by Richard's bed, and between us 41 years of marriage lay gasping for air. Tell me about her, Richard said suddenly, his eyes finding mine. Tell me about Hannah. I looked at him, this man I'd shared everything with. You tell me. She makes me feel young. The words came slowly, each one an effort. Like I'm not running out of time. Like I could start over. As if our life was just a rough draft he could crumple up and toss away. She doesn't know, he continued. About my bad knee. About how I can't sleep without the TV on. About how I get scared. Scared of being ordinary. Of disappearing. You were never ordinary to me, I said, and meant it. Hannah made a sound from the window. Small, hurt. I turned to look at her properly. She was wearing a green dress, the kind I might have worn 30 years ago, and comfortable flats. Her purse was one of those large, practical ones. She'd been ready for a normal lunch, not this. How did you manage it? I asked Richard. The logistics, I mean. I'm genuinely curious. He closed his eyes. The conferences were real. I just extended them. Added weekends. And the gym membership? Also real. I wanted to look good for... He stopped. For her. I nodded. Well, you did lose 15 pounds. I complimented you on it. Remember? I said you looked like you did when Sarah was born. Ellie, Do you love her? The question hung in the antiseptic air. Hannah turned from the window and we both waited. I don't know, Richard whispered. I love the possibility of her. The idea that I could be someone else. Someone who hadn't made all his mistakes yet. The orderlies came then, ready to wheel him to surgery. As they prepared to move him, Richard grabbed my hand with surprising strength. If I don't make it, you will. But if I don't, the house, everything, it's all in both our names, but there's an account. Hannah doesn't know about it. I was saving to leave. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. They wheeled him away before I could respond, and Hannah and I were left alone in the room that still smelled like his cologne. The same one I'd bought him every Christmas for 20 years. I didn't know he was planning to leave, Hannah said to the floor. He said you two had an understanding, that you lived separate lives. I laughed then, not cruelly, just tired. Is that what he told you? No, dear. We had breakfast together this morning. He fixed my coffee exactly how I like it. Too much cream, half a Splenda. We made plans to visit the grandkids this weekend. Her face crumpled. He said there were no grandkids. 3. Sarah has 2 boys, and Jennifer has a daughter. There are pictures in his wallet. Hannah sank into the visitor's chair, the one I'd probably be sleeping in tonight. I'm not a bad person, she said. I know that's what the other woman always says, but I'm not. I just fell in love with him. What did you think would happen? I asked, genuinely curious. Did you think he'd leave me? 41 years and he'd just walk away? He said he would. After his retirement. After things were settled. After, always after. Richard had always been a man of after. After this project, after this deal, after this one more thing. Then we'd travel. Then we'd slow down. Then we'd have time. Can I ask you something? Hannah looked up at me with those green eyes. Do you hate me? I considered this. No, I hate that you're 32 and I'm 64. I hate that you have knees that don't ache and hair that doesn't need coloring every 6 weeks. I hate that when he looked at you, he saw possibilities instead of history. But you're just a woman who fell in love with a man who wasn't free to love you back. He was, though. Free, I mean. In every way that mattered. No, dear. He wasn't. That's why you're here calling me. That's why he said my name. When we think we're dying, we don't call for our possibilities. We call for our home. We sat in silence then. 2 women on either side of one man's choices. The hospital sounds continued around us. Codes being called. Families crying. The everyday business of life and death. The account he mentioned. Hannah said finally, I didn't know about that either. How much did you know about? He rented an apartment, downtown near the river. Paid cash for 6 months at a time. That's where I thought we lived. Part-time, an apartment. While I'd been choosing new curtains for the living room, asking his opinion on colors, he'd had an entire other home. The thought should have destroyed me. Instead, I felt oddly vindicated. All those times I'd felt crazy, paranoid, when something felt off but I couldn't name it. I'd been right. Did he have things there? Clothes, books, a whole wardrobe. His guitar, the one you probably think is in storage. Photo albums, but they were all old photos. From before. College, early marriage, the kids when they were young. Nothing recent. So he'd been curating a museum of the man he used to be. The life he'd had before it became complicated. Routine. Real. I understood it in a way. Who doesn't want to live in their highlight reel? There's a key, Hannah said, pulling it from her purse. To the apartment. You should have it. I took the key, still warm from her hand. It was attached to a keychain. A small silver heart with "Forever" engraved on it. The irony wasn't lost on either of us. What will you do? I asked. If he survives? Disappear. He won't want me here, not with you knowing. And I can't be the woman who stayed. My mother was that woman, and I swore I'd never... She didn't finish, but she didn't need to. We all carry our mother's ghosts, one way or another. The surgery would take 4 hours, they had said. We had 3 more to go. Hannah stood, gathering her things. You're leaving? I think I should. Don't you? I thought about it. About sitting here alone, waiting to find out if my husband would live. About going home to that half-frosted cake, the empty house, the bed that would feel too big no matter what happened today. Actually, no. Stay. I could use the company. And you love him too. Whatever that's worth, you love him too. She looked at me like I'd spoken in tongues. You want me to stay? I want a coffee, I said. And I want to know who my husband's been for the past 2 years. You're the only one who can tell me that. Hannah sat back down slowly, like she was afraid I might change my mind. He takes his coffee black now, she said. No sugar. He said sweet things were for old men. I finished. He used to say the same thing about reading glasses and afternoon naps. Then he turned 50. We got coffee from the machine down the hall. Terrible coffee that tasted like burnt rubber and disappointment. But we drank it anyway, sitting in that waiting room surrounded by other people's tragedies. And Hannah told me about my husband. He cries at movies now, she said. The sad ones, but also the happy endings. He pretends he doesn't, but I can see him wiping his eyes. He's always done that. Since our first date, we saw terms of endearment and he sobbed so hard, people stared. Hannah smiled sadly. He told me he'd never been emotional until recently. And so it went. For 2 hours, we traded Richards. Mine of 41 years. Hers of 2. The man who'd taught our daughters to ride bikes versus the one who'd learned to tango for her. The one who snored so loud I sometimes slept in the guest room versus the one who stayed awake watching her sleep. Same man, different performances. He bought me a ring, Hannah said suddenly. Last month. Not an engagement ring, just a promise ring, he called it. Like we were teenagers. I thought about my own ring, the one Richard had saved 6 months to buy, working double shifts at his father's hardware store. It had been tiny, barely a chip of diamond, but I'd worn it like a crown. We'd upgraded it for our 20th anniversary. A proper stone, proper setting. But I still kept the original in my jewelry box, tucked inside the velvet box it came in. Are you wearing it? She held out her hand. A simple band with a small sapphire. Tasteful. Thoughtful. Nothing like what he'd chosen for me all those years ago. You know what the funny thing is? I said, surprising myself by continuing. I've been thinking about leaving him too. For about 5 years now. Hannah's eyes widened. You have? Not seriously. Not with plans or apartments or promise rings. But in that way, women my age do. Imagining a little cottage somewhere. Just me and books and a garden. No more picking up his socks. No more pretending to care about his fantasy football league. No more of his mother calling every Sunday to tell me everything I'm doing wrong. His mother calls you? Every Sunday, 4 p.m. sharp. 41 years of Sundays. He told me his mother was dead. Of course he did. Richard had been building himself a whole new history. Clean and simple. No complications. Doctor too young to be a surgeon appeared in the doorway. And both Hannah and I stood like synchronized swimmers. His face was unreadable, which I'd learned meant either very good or very bad news. The surgery went well, he said, and I felt Hannah sway beside me. We cleared the blockage. He's in recovery now. He'll need significant lifestyle changes, cardiac rehabilitation, but he should make a full recovery. Can we see him? Hannah asked, then caught herself. Can she see him? He's asking for Eleanor, the doctor said, looking at me. Just Eleanor. Hannah's face did something complicated. Relief, hurt, acceptance, all at once. She gathered her purse, that practical purse that had held my apartment key. I should go, she said. Hannah. I caught her arm. What he did to us, it wasn't about you or me. It was about him trying to outrun time. You understand that, don't you? She nodded, tears falling freely now. Will you tell him? Will you tell him I'm sorry? For what? For believing the story? For not asking harder questions? For wanting it to be true so badly that I let it be true? I watched her walk away, those comfortable flats squeaking on the hospital tile, and felt something I hadn't expected. Sympathy. She'd loved a fiction, and now she had to grieve not just the man, but the whole imaginary life she'd built around him. Richard was awake when I entered recovery, looking smaller somehow, diminished. The machines beeping around him seemed more substantial than he did. "Hi," he said, and it came out broken. "Hi. Is she gone?" "Yes." "I'm sorry, Ellie. I'm so sorry." I sat in the chair beside his bed, the same kind of chair I'd sat in when our daughters were born, when my father died, when life kept throwing its big moments at us. "I know you are. I don't know what happened. One day I was fine with our life, and the next I felt like I was drowning, like I'd blinked and gotten old, and there were all these things I'd never done, never felt." "So you decided to feel them with someone else's life as collateral damage?" He flinched. "When you put it like that?" "How should I put it, Richard? You had an affair. You rented an apartment. You opened a secret bank account. You told another woman your mother was dead when she calls us every Sunday like clockwork. You know about all of that? Hannah and I had coffee, compared notes. You've been quite the storyteller." He closed his eyes. "What happens now?" It was the question I'd been avoiding, the one that had been lurking under every revelation. What happens when 41 years collides with 2 years of lies? What happens when the life you built turns out to have a false room you never knew about? "Now you recover," I said. "You do your cardiac rehab. You take your medications. You get better. And then we'll see." "That's it? We'll see?" "Richard, you just had a heart attack. You almost died in an Italian restaurant while having lunch with your mistress. Your wife and your girlfriend bonded over terrible coffee while you were in surgery. I found out about your secret apartment, your secret money, your secret plans. And through it all, you know what I kept thinking?" He shook his head. "I kept thinking about that German chocolate cake on my counter. How I've made it 41 times for your birthday. How I know exactly how you like it. Extra coconut, less sweet than the recipe calls for. How my hands know that recipe by heart, could make it in the dark. That's what 41 years is, Richard. It's knowing someone so well that your hands remember their preferences. Ellie, Hannah doesn't know that you're allergic to strawberries, but you'll eat them anyway if someone serves them to you, because you don't want to be rude. She doesn't know that you check the locks 3 times before bed, because your house was robbed when you were 8. She doesn't know that you still have nightmares about our lost baby, the one between Sarah and Jennifer. Stop. She knows the Richard you wanted to be. I know the Richard you are. And that's why you called for me, not her." He was crying now. This man who'd just had his chest cracked open, who'd almost died over tiramisu and lies. "Can you forgive me?" "I don't know," I said honestly. "But I'm here. I signed your papers. I waited through your surgery. I'm here. I love you," he said. "I know that doesn't make sense after everything, but I do. I've always loved you. I just got lost. I know. And I did know. Love isn't just the grand gestures and the passion. Sometimes it's the quiet presence in a hospital room, the willingness to sit with someone's failures and still see their humanity." "The cake," he said suddenly. "Is it still salvageable?" "It's half frosted on the counter. Maybe when I get home we could finish it together." I thought about that cake waiting in our kitchen like a metaphor I didn't ask for. Half done. Abandoned in crisis, but still there. Still waiting, maybe, I said. "We'll see." I stayed until he fell asleep, the medications pulling him under. Then I drove home to our empty house, to the cake that had started all of this. I stood in my kitchen looking at the chocolate frosting that had hardened, the recipe card still on the counter, and made a decision. I finished frosting the cake, not perfectly, not prettily, but completely. Then I cut myself a slice and ate it alone at our dining room table, tasting 41 years of birthdays, 2 years of lies, and whatever comes after that. Tomorrow I'd go back to the hospital. Tomorrow we'd start talking about what recovery means. His heart, our marriage, the future we might or might not have. But tonight I sat with my cake and my complicated grief, and I let myself feel it all. The young woman with green eyes was probably in her downtown apartment, mourning a man who never existed. My husband was in a hospital bed, his heart repaired but his life in pieces. And I was here in the house we'd shared, eating birthday cake on an ordinary Thursday, thinking about forgiveness and time and the way we tell ourselves stories to survive our own choices. I didn't have answers, but I had cake, and for tonight that was enough.